Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world, and welcome to today's MD and DI webinar, Building Smarter Medical Devices with AI and Connected Data, sponsored by Advantech Corporation and Intel and broadcast by Informa. I'm Michael Krieger. I'll be your moderator today. We have just a few announcements before we begin. First of all, this webinar is designed to be interactive. On the right-hand side of your screen, you'll find the Navigation Center, which will allow you to learn about today's speakers, download resources, respond to the polling questions that are going to come up, and participate in the Q&A session that takes place at the end of our presentation. If you experience any technical difficulties, you can just refresh your webinar console within your browser. That's usually as easy as hitting the F5 key, or type your issue into the Q&A area, and we'll be glad to offer one-on-one assistance. And lastly, before you leave us today, please complete our webinar survey, which will pop up as your feedback provides us with valuable information on how we can improve future events. And now on to the presentation. Discussing today's topic is Corey Leonard, Product Manager at Advantech, and Scott Thomas, AI Systems Architect at Intel. To learn more about our speakers, just visit the Info tab on your console. So with that, we're really looking forward to this discussion with you two today. And to kick things off, we want to look at harnessing AI and edge computing specifically as it relates to medical devices. So when we talk about smarter medical devices, what role do AI and edge computing play in fundamentally changing how medical data is processed, acted on, and secured?
Great. I'll pick this one up initially. I thought it'd be easiest, instead of giving some high-level overview or talk about some business development or the overworked healthcare workers or something like that. I'm just going to give specific examples. Let's go through Intel's product line, starting from the Xeon on top through Core Ultra, and then mainstream Core, and then your entry-level Atom. These are products that are produced right now, but they have transitioned over the last few years to incorporate AI. At the Xeon at the top, that tends to be large 3D scanners, CT scanners, MRIs, that sort of thing, and any other device that just has huge amounts of data, like a 3D scan. Those all tend to be Xeon because they need so much memory and memory bandwidth. They sometimes, actually more commonly now, they use a GPU as well, and I'm happy to sell you a Xeon and put a GPU of any brand in it. We support. We're open source. Next, I'll talk about the Intel Core Ultra. That's the next in line. The Core Ultra, I'll get into in more detail in the next slide, but the Core Ultra includes a lot of AI benefits. And so the first image there is a ultrasound machine, and we're seeing huge transition in the ultrasound business. The Core Ultra finally has a powerful enough GPU that we can get rid of the discrete GPU, and now the newest hospital grade and high-end ultrasound machines often come fanless designs, and they're running on the Core Ultra with AI enabled. And one other note I'll add over here is the patient monitor. That actually skipped the mainstream. It went all the way from your Atom processor to Core Ultra because they want that AI enabled in patient monitors. All the false alarms, all the noise in the hospitals is just murderous. So these are the sorts of individual device transitions that are going on right now because of AI. And of course, the mainstream, we still see a lot of robotics and things like that because they need all the PCIe slots. Absolutely happy to sell you mainstream for your FPGAs and your discrete GPUs as well. So it just depends on the use case. Let's talk engineering. Now, this is enabled through the Core Ultra product. That's how we get that extra swim lane up there. That's now we're in our third generation. It's been out over 2 years already. The Core Ultra provides a powerful GPU and a neural processing unit. That way, you can do the GPU replacement like they did in the ultrasound machine, and you can do AI inferencing on the same chip without having a discrete GPU. So just to introduce the Core Ultra, if you're not familiar with it, you should be. This is really making a great impact on the healthcare business. Corey, can you elaborate?
Yeah, actually, and I'm gonna go ahead and flip it over. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, one of the great things with Panther Lake, especially the latest and greatest from Intel, that integration of all of those different features, the GPU, the NPU, really brings a much more efficient and much more cost-effective platform for medical device manufacturers to work off of. So this infographic here is kind of just giving you a brief idea of where Panther Lake's integrated graphics slots in between a couple of discrete GPU options. So you can definitely see here versus some of those really high power consumption and hot and often constantly changing graphics landscape. You can just use the integrated functions within the CPU to be able to run your application. And so that can be a massive cost savings up to about $1,500 in some cases. And of course, reducing your overall power consumption and of course, heat load, especially as we talked with some of our customers and players in this space as they're trying to shrink their form factors and to build sleeker and less bulky devices. So yeah.
Yeah, the fanless too. A lot of fanless devices.
Exactly.
You need a good thermal engineer for that. You know any, Corey?
Oh yes, we have plenty here at Advantech, and we'll actually touch on that a little bit more in some of these later slides here. But yeah, bringing this down into at the upper limit of 65 watt is a massive savings in power versus some of the other CPU plus GPU systems. And of course, in terms of complexity for programming versus like FPGA, these are also substantially easier to develop for and to manage over the lifetime of the device. And so, kind of as Scott mentioned, there are plenty of devices that Advantech is building based off of these new architectures. So this is just kind of a brief high-level overview of everything that we'll have just off the shelf. Not everything that we're capable of, but lots of different expressions of these platforms to go into different aspects, whether you need something that is customizable, like our SOM 5886. So that's a system on module type architecture where you can build your entirely your own IO and your own feature set for this device and just buy the compute in. There's also just regular off-the-shelf platform single board computers like the AIMB and the MIO series. And then, of course, if you need an off-the-shelf system fully enclosed with certifications, we have devices like our AIR, which stands for AI Ready, and our ARC devices as well. And so the ARC specifically, just to circle back to what Scott mentioned, that one is also fanless. So we're also bringing this great AI performance and capability into more difficult applications where you may not have ideal conditions such as like the temperature, the humidity, or shock and vibration, areas where a fan can actually reduce the overall reliability of the system. So yeah, I think that's kind of a good introduction here, and we can turn it over to our poll.
Thank you very much. And I just want to remind all of you that after we discuss each of our areas of interest today, we're going to push a polling question out to our listeners, starting with this first one. And audience members, just visit the polls area in your right-hand navigation center and choose the response directly on the screen before clicking submit. And our question to you today is this: what's your primary roadblock to implementing edge AI for your current medical projects? Power consumption and thermal, latency and processing speed, complexity of AI model integration and training, or data privacy and security? And Scott, while we wait for our answers, I'm going to turn it back over to you for comment.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot of this power consumption, thermal management, you bring in a discrete GPU and yeah, it's hot, and it's gonna cause larger form factors and all kinds of issues like that. Corey, though, it looks like that there's not one vote on that, so it looks like yeah, everyone knows Corey's group can take care of that.
Looks like complexity of the AI model is the big winner today.
And that kind of echoes what we see on our side as well. You know, a lot of the hardware aspect is established methodology, and we know how to handle that. So the real complexity is in that software piece and getting your application up and running.
Makes sense to me. And all right, this brings us to our next topic of discussion. When designing platforms for medical automation, how do you jointly ensure security, reliability, and scalability without slowing innovation or increasing system complexity?
All right, so I can jump in from there, and we'll take a look at this slide here. So we kind of put together an infographic that kind of shows you the overall picture for how we build medical devices. And so certification and security is a huge aspect of this. So, of course, the standard system level certifications like CE, FCC, UL, and some of the other regional specific ones. But also as we start moving forward into the future, especially with new regulations like the CRA in Europe, IEC 62443 is also a huge aspect of medical devices as well, and ensuring the data security of your device. So that is also another area where Advantech is specifically looking into to support our customers. And of course, as related to certification, we also work with a lot of other hardware vendors in the industry. And so many of our systems are going to be certified for use with popular accelerator cards. So for NPUs or GPUs. Outside of that, you have access to the latest Intel solutions through Advantech. So we are a prestige partner of Intel's. So we are among the very earliest to have access to the new architectures from Intel. So you can be assured that our platforms are very well validated between us and Intel, and they have a good amount of development time and will be available relatively early in the market as well. And of course, that also applies to all of the software support from Intel as well. So APIs like OpenVINO or Getty or OneAPI are also supported on our platforms. We also do a lot of work in our power stability, of course, especially in medical applications where you do have some life support systems. That is absolutely critical for those applications. So we've done a lot of work, and we have a lot of established processes to manage that and to develop a solid platform for our customers. Also mentioned thermal optimization. So we do design our own heat sinks. We do a lot of thermal simulation with our devices as well. So we can help our customers, especially bringing in some of these components and making sure that they are operating reliably throughout all of their potential operating conditions. Of course, operating system, drivers, board support packages are also part of what we do as well. And that includes SDKs for AI, runtimes, models, anything that you might need to get started with development. So we mentioned AI computing integration, so lots of integrated NPUs now with the latest architectures. But beyond that, if you need even more performance, we also can bring in lots of other options in M.2 and MXM, or just typical PCI Express add-in card form factors. We also bring in SSDs and cameras as well. So especially as we work a lot more in visual compute and using AI applications to augment visual computing information. That's another really key aspect of the integration that our customers look to us for. And also to mention, for Advantech, we do have a lot of standard products off the shelf, actually over 2,000 standard models off the shelf. But actually, a lot of our customer base, really, when they get to working with us, we might have a great base platform, but everyone's needs are unique and very specific to their application and to their medical device. So for those customers who need something special that can't quite be found off the shelf, we do a lot of customized designs. So that includes full clean sheet designs of motherboards, carrier boards, as mentioned with the system on module side. We do the complete board to system level design all in-house with custom firmware for the embedded controller, custom operating system images, custom applications and APIs. So really the sky is the limit in terms of working with us. So Scott, I'll go ahead and pass it to you for your input.
Sure. Yeah, I wanted to bring cybersecurity into the conversation. I think that cybersecurity is just so critical. The problem in healthcare is that hospitals and healthcare organizations pay the ransom. Nobody attacks school districts because they don't have any money, so they don't get targeted by ransomware. Hospitals do, especially in the US, and they are targeted every time. They would love to get their hands on a medical device, physically alter it, and get it into the hospital so that they can break in and establish a ransomware threshold or a beachhead. So I need to bring some of the endpoint security measures in. These are extremely important. Number one, let me just talk about supply chain. Don't buy your stuff through the gray market, get it through a reputable supplier. But people are going to steal your device. If it's in a hospital, it's going to get tampered with. They have physical access. The thing has to be locked down. Don't just put a PC in it. It's got to be secure. And I don't have time to go through all of the various steps and phases, but these things can be locked down so that if anyone tampers the BIOS or tries to boot a different kernel or an sabotaged kernel, it will simply fail to work, and that will keep it from spreading a malware in your customer's hospital. So these are the sorts of things hospitals actually look for. They really do ask what CPU model is in that product because they want to run their malware detection software on it. So make sure you go through the right steps. This is, I think, underrated because of the importance, though, to our customers in healthcare. We really do need to cover security from the beginning. Also, I want to talk about just software. Intel, we have one API. That's the version that, or the software that we push for all of the low-level applications, CPU and GPU interactions and things like that. I personally program in Python, but it's optimized. So I use the Intel calls, so I don't have to work in C++. But all one API is C++ extension, C++ namespaces, and it's all in SYCL. So I need to tell you, SYCL is open source. If you go to the Kronos website, these are all open source software. It's available to anyone. SYCL is what one API is based on, and it is open source. It will run on AMD, it will run on NVIDIA, it will run on probably Qualcomm. It'll run on anybody that chooses to support it. One thing that's missing on the Kronos website is CUDA. Be extremely careful if you code anything in CUDA because you are marrying an abusive spouse. Once you code in CUDA, it's not licensed to anyone but NVIDIA. You have decided to go with NVIDIA forever. Just know that going in. So I think that's a critical point. I want to make sure everyone understands as we talk about software deployments and cybersecurity.
That is funny. Like I'm going to have to remember that one. Let me. Great points of consideration over here. It's time for our second polling question of the day. Audience members, again, visit the polls right on your right-hand navigation center, and we would like to know what stage of the medical device product lifecycle currently consumes the most time for your team. Is it hardware and prototyping, software and AI integration, certification and compliance, or sourcing and mass production? And as you submit your answers, I'm going to invite Corey to comment as the audience feedback rolls in.
Yeah, and my perspective may be a little bit colored just based on where I engage with customers typically, but certification and compliance, especially in medical devices, I think is typically the biggest challenge. That usually represents the longest lead time, one of the highest cost figures to work through. So building devices that are robust, that are well planned from a lifecycle management perspective, and also even considering aspects like the software bill of materials, which is now a consideration in FDA in a way that it hasn't been in the past or traditionally. So that's also important to consider. And so we do work with our customers on that a lot. But yeah, that would be my pick for the most difficult item.
And the problem with that, of course, is so much of that is out of your hands, right? You're relying on outside people to do it.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know, Scott, do you have any input from your side?
Of course, I always have an opinion. Yeah, for me, I kind of go with the poll that the software and AI integration is the most daunting if you haven't done it. Once you've done a few, it's really not that, it's kind of a headache, but it's not the arduous pole vaulting contest that you have to get through the first time. That first one, oh, I remember the first time I got a model to work. that first time is a big deal. Then afterwards, it becomes more of an integration effort, and it's more of a software development effort. You've got to get your software running on the hardware. For Intel devices in particular, once you optimize for the, say, neural processing unit, the same model, you don't have to change a thing. It works on the GPU and the CPU. You don't have to make decisions like that. So yes, software integration, you've got to have good software tools as well. That's why I mentioned one API. That's our software tool of choice. And it does work with AMD and it does work with NVIDIA. And just if you choose a different tool, that's great. OpenGL, OpenCL. There's lots of tools out there, and they work with lots of different silicon. Use those tools.
Okay, thanks so much, and thanks to everyone in the audience for participating in the poll. We greatly appreciate that, and that'll get us to our next our next point of discussion, which is the real world examples and case studies. Can you gentlemen share with me some real world examples where AI and edge computing have been successfully deployed in medical?
Sure, I'll jump into that first. I've been talking about medical and healthcare the whole time, but we have a lot of life sciences customers as well, microscopy and genomics, things like that. So this one is a digital pathology example. I don't want to get in too much detail, but simply switching to Core Ultra instead of trying to use a discrete GPU saved an enormous amount of power, and as Corey mentioned, that leads to the form factor and price and all kinds of other benefits. So this example, digital pathology, they use AI-powered segmentation for object detection, and basically the results were just a much more compact, sellable solution. This was in partnership with Jello-X, and overall, it was a huge design win. We were really happy to see it, and they let us use their name, so that's why I bring it up. Most of our design wins, we speak very vaguely. Oh yeah, ultrasound is doing this. Oh yeah, we can't say the name of the company that or companies that we're working with, but this one is a good one because we are allowed to say it, and you can see the products out there if you go to Jello-X's website and whatnot. I also want to say, while I'm on the subject uh, of life sciences, we have numerous products out there in the life sciences business. I need to put plugs in for that. Again, I know this is primarily healthcare focused, but Intel's life sciences vertical is hard at work doing a lot of work for drug manufacturers and researchers. Another example I'll bring up again because we're allowed to. This is a radiation therapy using AI-powered contouring. So this is when someone is undergoing radiation therapy, it's kind of a big deal. You don't want to miss. It's not healthy. And using AI in order to, call it contouring. It's basically segmenting and determining what you're trying to affect with the radiation. And this is a great application. It's our Intel Xeon product line. Very high-end product, but it's computationally extremely intensive. And because of the 3D, like I mentioned earlier, lots of 3D images, you have that X, Y, and Z. So there's huge 3D images to be handled, and the Xeon is the recommended device to conquer that much data. I could keep going on and on, but I want to give Corey a chance to talk. AI is making a huge impact, even in pharmaceutical delivery and things like that. It's all over the place, and you need to look at it. You need to look at affordable, deployable ways to get it out there.
Yeah, yeah. AI is absolutely revolutionizing the industry as a new computational method. I mean, you can really achieve some significant speed ups. So, like take for example, protein folding. We had to spend and devote massive amounts of computing resources to just fold a couple of proteins. As soon as we introduce artificial intelligence, we've folded all of them. We know all of them now. So that's an incredible advancement thanks to that technology. So there's massive implications to how healthcare and medical devices will change. But kind of to circle back to what Scott mentioned before about classification. This is actually a really large use case that we see a lot of in medical. So this is basically like a application like endoscopy or for diagnostics. But so basically this is an example of a real world use case that Advantech has done with one of our customers. To basically take in some camera feed. We do some AI processing, so classification of certain objects inside of the video feed. So like what is a tool versus what is a certain type of tissue. Maybe it can identify tissues that are consistent with cancerous cells. and highlight that to the doctor or to the medical technician. So this is kind of just an idea of what we put together. So these are used in the real world to improve the speed of any predictive work or diagnostic work or pre-surgery type environments. So you can get more accurate and faster results with less effort on the part of the doctor. So, Scott also mentioned our understaffed healthcare professionals. They can definitely use all of the help they can get.
Well, gentlemen, that was a great presentation. And now we're going to get to the Q&A portion of our event. To participate, just click that Q&A icon in your navigation center, then type your question into the available text box before clicking send. And any questions we don't have time for, we'll be sure to share with our presenters who can reply to offline. So let me start. Yeah.
And actually, before we do jump into the Q&A as well, I do want to mention, of course, that Scott and I will actually be in Anaheim next week at the MD&M show. So
great.
If you don't get the chance to ask your question here, or if we don't have the time or the ability to get to it here, go ahead and visit us, especially at our booth for Advantech.
Do you know what
we'll
the
be
booth
happy.
number is?
Not yet, but maybe Arnold can jump in here and
Great.
confirm that for me. But we'll let you guys know. And of course, we can schedule a meeting at our booth at MD&M and do a deeper dive into any of the topics that you might want to hear from us.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Okay, let's start with a question from Charles, who asks, he says, we have a lot of existing medical equipment already in the field. Realistically, how difficult is it to retrofit those legacy systems with edge AI capabilities without starting from scratch?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've seen this. I'll take this one, Corey. Yeah, we've seen this. One of the reasons ultrasound was so fast to go out to market is that they use COM Express form factor. So they did not have to re-engineer their entire motherboard. They didn't have to respin everything. They just swapped out the card and said, hey, this is pretty cool. This kind of works. Hey. And they were able to proceed very quickly with implementing AI in their existing product line without an enormous amount of re-engineering. Once your product is out there, it's a much different matter to try and retrofit AI. Now, do you have the ability to upgrade the software of your device? Questions like that. Those are great questions. I don't know. That's up to you. One of the one of the business cases out there is AI as a service. Can we add AI? Can we upgrade the AI? Can we subscribe to certain AI models? Things like that. That's open. That's just developing right now.
Mm-hmm. Here's a question from Nader, who asks, can you talk about how AI is helping MedTech development and FDA submissions?
Yeah, so I can take this one here. Really, what I see a lot of for AI and kind of how it's impacting FDA development or MedTech development. And again, my perspective is a little bit more, colored by my experiences. Here's a product guy, but mainly what we see a lot of is, like, especially as I mentioned, the software bill of materials as it relates to new FDA submissions. When you move to AI, one of the interesting things with that is, especially versus something like FPGA, the firmware for an FPGA is specific to that FPGA, to that particular function, and there's very little portability, or it also becomes a little bit brittle. So if you ever had a change in your system, or if you had to upgrade that FPGA, then you would have to basically effectively start over from scratch. Moving to AI, especially in this or with these new models and with containerization as well, it's actually very portable. So you can take your same model within a container and you can just move it to another system. And that's basically it. No drama, no complication. You can just pick it up and move it, and it should work for most cases. Of course, there are always exceptions, but in terms of like long-term maintenance of an FDA registered system, that definitely helps, especially as hardware changes and as you upgrade or look to add new features over time.
Okay, thanks for that. Keep the questions coming. This one from Keenan, who asks, could you elaborate more on integration with other systems?
So as far as integration with other systems, so Um, we definitely we consult with our customers a lot to understand exactly how they're intending to use the product. So there could be very many ways or myriad ways to do that. So like Scott mentioned, ComExpress is extremely popular for this case because you can design your own board. It has all of your FPGAs or your devices or your inputs, exactly the type and the location of those inputs that you want, exactly where you need them, going to the exact root port on the architecture. And so, we that's pretty easy for us to integrate, or we can go very deep level into that. If you're looking at like an off-the-shelf platform, it's really going to depend on the platform and exactly what devices you're looking to connect. There's of course standard PCI Express, there's USB. If you're feeding in cameras, we can look at like MIPI CSI or GMSL. So that's a conversation that we can definitely deep dive in on and look at your specific circumstances. But there's very much no one size fits all.
Hmm. Okay. Kendall would like to know who can we connect with here to discuss Intel integration? We are an extensive new project, all medical modalities, commonality among all our clinics.
I'll take this. Start easy to start with Advantech, but if you don't get the answers you need, Advantech will often just escalate to me. I get calls, from Corey's folks from time to time. Start with Advantech or meet with me in Anaheim. I'll be happy to talk. But we do need to. It's an engineering effort, and if the answers were easy, they wouldn't pay engineers what they pay us. So, it based on the question, it's all these different modalities and commonalities among clinics and things. That's a tough question. We need to look at the architecture and get into it in some detail. So start with talking to someone like Advantech, like Corey, but I'm happy to jump into the conversation as well. I've done a lot of edge devices over the years, over 30 years at Intel, and I do love solving these types of problems.
Thank you for that, Scott. Keep the questions coming. Here's a good one. Evan wants to know, how do we make sure the specific processor or board we select today isn't going to EOL by the time we actually launch the product?
You want this one, Corey, or should I?
Yeah, I could touch on that a little bit. I mean, definitely it helps to have a great partner like Intel who offers us these processors with longevity. So if you're working with a company like Advantech, or if you're working with us directly, we only work off of Intel's embedded roadmap or their NEX division. So that's specifically only processors which are available minimum of 7 years. Many times often 10 to 15 years as well. And beyond that, of course, it's not just the CPU on a system. So there's lots of other ancillary ICs. So like a DDI to HDMI converter IC or power management components, MOSFETs, capacitors, power stages, VRMs, etc. Advantech additionally also manages the life cycle of those to ensure that we can continue to supply something in the exact same specification. And that's one of the key value adds that Advantech brings to the table. Especially working with FDA, where even the most minor change is a complete clean sheet restart, that can be critical for our customers.
Yeah, and I'll add, people have asked me directly, hey, especially after they get burned from the GPU role, the inexorable, oh, here's the newest model, you have to recertify. They asked me very directly, how does Intel guarantee 10-year availability?
Hmm.
Because how do you do it? Well, we own the factory.
Certainly
We're
helps.
not
You
farming it out. Yeah, it helps.
you do
So,
that,
yeah, I
and
can take you to Vietnam and show it to you.
I just also want to remind all of you that you can check out the resources section for a link to register for the coffee talk that you're talking about, or come
Mhm.
see Advantech at booth 3570 at MD&M West next week. I got the booth number for you.
All right. Thank you.
Also, there's a registration link in the resources section for that coffee talk. So you can head on over there if you want to. Let me get back to the questions. We have time for a few more. Um, okay. Here's one from Okay, here we go. Diane she says, when you talk about secure design for connected devices, what does that actually look like in practice when it comes to privacy and security?
Can you repeat that, please? When it comes to secure
When
design, what
when
does
you
that?
talk about secure design in quotes for connected devices,
Okay,
what does that actually look like in practice when it comes to privacy and security?
okay. I'll start, and Corey, you can chime in because I know
Mhm.
Advantech adds a lot of value on this as well. First, the device looks like it's locked down. Like you can take it apart and put it back together, and it will either not boot or it will boot the way it's supposed to. Okay, it is airtight, and that means there's certificates.
Mm.
So when you connect it to the hospital network, the IT department expects that device, and they're not going to let. There'll be handshaking and everything going back and forth, attesting that this was booted securely. And from there, then once you have established that trust, then you get the encrypted channel and you can talk to the hospital PACS or other devices that you want. Now, local devices, we see a lot like in x-rays, those C-arm x-rays and other really complicated x-rays you see in operating rooms. Those are all held together. The backbone of many of those is Ethernet, and those have their own built-in subnet, but that should be airtight as well. I should be able to unplug it and plug it into any kind of sniffer I want and not make sense of the data. That's what a secure platform looks like. And yeah, we've got the tools to enable that. That's what it should look like. Corey?
Yeah, that is to say, like, I think if you're working with a secure connected device, you probably won't be able to tell that it's secure. It should still just get out of your way and function like normally. But like as Scott mentioned, the real critical piece about that is, when we get into the security piece, we'll go and we'll customize our BIOS or firmware for our devices. And the big thing for medical is using Intel features like Intel Boot Guard plus some signed keys. We'll associate some in the BIOS, and then we'll associate some with the operating system image, be it Windows or Linux, such that those two need to match. Otherwise, the system will refuse to boot or function. And also add in some features like device encryption or like on-drive encryption, or using HTTPS protocol for your device-to-device communications over Ethernet. Like those are all really good common practices that keep data secure, and also the actual medical devices themselves secure.
Okay, thank you for that. We have time for a couple of more questions. This one comes from Safi, who asks, well, where do you get started? What are the first practical steps? Where should we be looking for the right tools to get off the ground?
Okay. This is probably related to AI because everybody knows how to get their product established, but how do you get your AI or your AI product going? Um, that's hard. Um, for me, it's got to be, you've got to just break through the first model. I downloaded an open source model and just got it to work following the instructions. Now we've got vibe coding. AIs are really good at that. But the hardest part is getting your first model to work. And after that, it gets easier and easier the more you do it. And then suddenly that big, from the poll, the big problem is AI integration. How do I do this? That becomes less and less of a problem the more you do it. It's very,
Hmm.
very daunting the first time. But then after you realize it's not that big of a leap, or after you've made the leap, it gets easier over time. Corey?
Yeah, I mean, you can always take a look at our websites. We have lots of great resources between Intel and Advantech as well. And of course, Intel also with one API, that is an agnostic tool set. So whatever your hardware is today, you can always download that and get running. But I agree, the biggest step is just to take the first one. And once you get started, everything will start to get easier from there. And then, of course, if you need more help, there's, of course, resources through Intel and, of course, through Advantech as well.
Hmm.
So we're always happy to help.
Great. Okay, keep them coming. This one from Tom, who asks, if we ship a device with an AI feature and a competitor comes out with a better model 6 months later, are we stuck with what we launched?
Yeah, that's a concern because the first AI devices are coming out. and they're great, but in a year, what are they going to look like?
Right.
So yes, this is. Do you wait for your competitor and then one up them, or do you get something out there now? And yeah, we're seeing that just in the first AI devices that are just in everybody's hands now. For me, top of mind is ultrasound because I worked in that space a long time. And the first ones are there, and they're doing fetal heartbeat detection at just the right moment, or things like that. What's to say someone won't come out with something better? Well, you can upgrade your software. It is just software, but you've got to make sure that model is FDA approved.
Mm-hmm.
That's it, though. It's a software upgrade, or if you're using ComExpress again, that's not a difficult hardware upgrade so that you can upgrade your product line. But again, that's going all through certification again.
Right.
So yes, it's going to be competitive, especially first to market. The first ultrasound machines are flying off the shelves. People love them. They're getting a lot of positive press. What's going to happen next year when the second generation comes out?
Seriously.
Corey, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, from what I see, and this also kind of ties into what we mentioned before with as it relates to AI versus traditional computing methods. Especially with containerization, with the portability, it's a lot easier to manage than it has been traditionally, and so that also makes it easier for FDA as well. So you can just take your updated model, you can insert it directly into your application, the rest of your framework, which is already FDA approved. So the FDA can just limit their evaluation to the model and how that model change impacts the functionality of your medical device. And so
Perfect.
that also simplifies the process a bit as well.
And
Yeah.
here's kind of a follow up. It's in the same vein. This one comes from Alan, who says, "How complex is it to actually update or add new models once the product's already in the field?"
We have manageability features that enable you to remote into many devices. But healthcare, especially hospitals, they have firewalls. They do, like I said earlier, they are terrified of malware and especially ransomware. And so taking individual units offline and accessing them remotely is possible over a network. And I've seen some of that, but until then you get thousands of devices deployed, it gets more exciting.
Right.
Yeah, Corey, you have some magic wand? What do you do, Corey?
There's definitely no one size fits all or magic wand approach, and it really depends on your individual circumstances, what will work best for you. But the container approach is really the way that we always see our customers do it, and so that definitely simplifies the deployment process as well once it's out in the field. Um, so yeah.
And with that, that's all the time we have for questions today. I want to thank you both. We appreciate your time and expertise on today's topic. And thanks also to our sponsors, Advantech Corporation and Intel, as well as to everyone in the audience. We appreciate your attention and participation during the Q&A. Within the next 24 hours, you'll receive a personalized follow-up email with details and a link to today's presentation on demand. Please feel free to invite your colleagues and peers who may not have been able to join us live today. On behalf of our guests, Corey Leonard and Scott Thomas, I'm Michael Krieger. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.